Hi, my name is Catherine, and today I'm going to show you how you can learn how to code in 6 months. Alright, so where do you start? How do you learn how to code? What is coding? Well, you can Google around on the internet trying to figure out what computer science is, what programming is, but I often find it's best to start with something called the terminal or the command line. So we'll jump over here. And I'm going to show you something called the terminal, the command line, how it works on the most basic level. So if you have a Mac, then this is going to look familiar to you. If you don't, that's okay. But if you've ever seen the hacker movies where they go in and they type a bunch of things here, that's month 1. So when we're breaking this down into months, and then you can further break that down into weeks. But month 1 is you learn this tool. You learn how to navigate this tool. You learn what this tool is. You learn a bunch of crazy things you can do with this tool. One thing is you change directories. And so I say cd desktop. I change directories into my desktop, and there I am. Whoopee. And we can actually list doing ls or dir if you're on Windows. And you can see, okay, here are the different things that I have on my desktop. Just like we have this little visual interface, we have a text interface. This is a click and drag interface. And what we were using here in our terminal, in our command line, yeah, that is a text-based interface. And the command line is a tool that you're going to be using with a lot of different programming languages. And so it's not a programming language in itself, like this CD, that's not part of a language. We call this idea of CD a command. And so we're writing the command cd desktop and telling the computer, hey, change folders or change directory to my desktop. But this is a tool that it's really good to be familiar with, just because you'll use it no matter what programming language you use. You're probably going to be using this tool in some form, whether it's for source control, GitHub, and those things you'll get to later, or for remote in, to go remote into a desktop that isn't locally on your computers, transfer files. There are a lot of different things you can do here. So how do you learn this tool? This is a tool, this is month 1, is learn this tool. Well, you can use a couple of different sites. You can go to Code Academy. Let's see if we can spell things. And we can, I'm a big fan of Code Academy. You can log in, and if you go to their little catalog, we'll see if they let me see it without logging in. Okay, great. So here we have by the language. They call bash shell. These are other terms for the command line, kind of, or for, here it goes. There's literally so many different words you can use to explain that tool I just showed you. So it's called, bash shell. It's the command line, blah, blah, blah. Learn the command line. Do this one. This is the one you want to do. Learn the command line. You'll click into this. This is super, it takes 10 hours, so it's going to be pretty quick. Not that bad. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. And it's going to show you some of the basics, all of that, how to interact with things. Highly, highly recommend this one. And let's see what you do here. Of course, this is only going to get you the basics. This course, you see all these things with Pro, that means you have to pay for it. But you get a month free or something with Code Academy. So go do that free month and do these little projects and stuff. This will be super helpful. You need to know the command line in order to do a lot of different things. And learning the command line, there are a couple things you should be able to do. One, you need to know how to change directories. We just did that, so there you go. You'll also want to know how to list files in that given directory. And so we actually already did that too, because we did ls or dir if it's in Windows. Another thing you might want to do is move files, delete files, different operations. And so understanding some of the common commands that we can write here. So one of the common commands was cd, another one was ls or dir, another one is mv. These are going to be, you just want to be familiar with them. You want to understand the basics of this tool. So that comes from the command, that comes from the options that come with that command, as well as the arguments that come with that command. All right, month 1. Command line, we've got that down. What's next? Well, also in month 1, because you'll get the hang of the command line pretty easily, and I also have some videos on my channel that'll kind of get you up and running. At least if you're on a Mac, I don't give the Windows version, sorry, but that'll help you get up and running. Now your next step is to choose a programming language. Which language you choose, it doesn't really matter, but here are some suggestions. You can choose C# and .NET if you are interested in game design. And so your language is going to be C#. Your framework is going to be .NET, but you'll be dealing with .NET in the beginning, and it's like annoying. But if you're interested in game design, game development, AR, VR, C# is going to be your language. If you're interested in data, like I love data science, I love math, I love visualizations, I love making visualizations, I'm really good maybe in Excel, I do business intelligence type stuff, like business analyzation type stuff, like business tools, Python is going to be the one for you. And there are a couple of other like libraries and frameworks you'll learn with Python, but Python, that's going to be your core language. Now, say you don't like those and you want to do something more in web, like web design, web, development, programming, making stuff for the web, JavaScript is going to be your option. JavaScript, which is very different from Java. And JavaScript, you're going to have node.js that comes along later. You're going to have manipulation maybe with the HTML and CSS, which we're not doing right now. But you're going to be focusing on the JavaScript language. Right now, month 1, you're only worried about picking the language and doing hello world in it. So making the most easy print statement, installing everything on your computer, getting it ready to run, doing the research, being like, okay, what IDE or things should I use? And if you don't know what like an IDE is or an SDK is, I have videos on my channel for some of those basic computer science terms you need to know. But basically, you're going to set up C# or Python or JavaScript. And then if you didn't like any of those 3, Java is a really good option too, because Java is often what is taught in universities. And so if you go to school for computer science, you'll learn Java first and then you'll learn the other languages like later on. So that's another route to go to. But Java's good. Java is practical. A lot of enterprises use it in general. Like if you think like most of the enterprise jobs are working for a big company and working on a big system that supports a lot of things, a lot of that backend is in Java just because it's been in Java forever, or at least for a while, whereas some of these languages are a little bit newer. So yeah, Java is another. So yeah, you got C#, Python, JavaScript, or Java. Those are your 4 choices. Pick one based on your interest, or it doesn't matter really which one you pick. You're going to learn how to code either way. You pick one, right, get it set up on your computer and stuff, get it rolling, do hello world. Then some extra bonus points if you want to figure out how to run these in the command line, so how to run your hello world. Like you'll be able to run hello world in your like IDE or whatever program you choose to write your code in. You'll do that. But bonus points if you can figure out how to run it with the command line. All right, month 2, what do we do now? Month 1, we know the command line, we've got our basic language, we can do some hello world, maybe run it in the terminal. What do we do now? The next step is to learn a general purpose language. So you're going to learn, you picked your language right, you're going to learn how to use it now. You are not only learning hello world, you are learning the syntax of this language, how to make variables in this language. You're learning how to do a function in this language. You're learning how structures and classes work. You're learning what if statements and for loops and those types of things are, while loops, control statements, booleans, all of that good stuff. That's month 2. And if you don't know what any of that means, that is totally okay. One option is to go onto Code Academy here, and you saw the catalog from before, but basically pick, there's Python, JavaScript, Java, C# is not on here, but you could pick one of those languages, basically go through it. Let's see what the JavaScript one says. If you choose to go to Code Academy for JavaScript, you are going to want to do the Introduction to JavaScript. And then for Python, I think there's the one course. It's just going to be, you can choose either Python 3, Python 2. You should be learning Python 3. If you learn Python 2, no big deal. It's fine. So you can pick one of those. Or Java, I think there's only one course. Yeah, then there's the one Java course. So you can use that one too. If for some reason you hate Code Academy, you did the command line one, and you were like, I hate this. Other options are YouTube, Udemy, and we got to be careful with those. Make sure the one you choose, it has a very high rating and lots of reviews, and so it's not like a terrible course. And maybe watch the preview video that you get for free. LinkedIn Learning is another option. But yeah, learn the language, maybe build a couple of projects with it, do a little bit of like testing around. And I would suggest get to the point where you can make Hangman or Tic Tac Toe or some other game that has very clear logic in this programming language. Like, figure out how to make Hangman, Tic Tac Toe, Battleship, whatever you want to choose in this language. Learn how to make that game. And it can be 100% text-based, meaning like there's no like user interface really. It's just maybe the computer prints out blah, 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 and then you enter your option or rock, paper, scissors even, like you enter rock, and then it goes da, 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 and then you enter scissors, and then it's like multiple try. Yeah, it's 100% text-based. There's no like click and drag UI. I would also continue, maybe watch the SDK and IDE video again, learn what those are, make sure you have a good, strong understanding, and then also learn what an API is. And I have a video on that as well, what an API is, what an API key is, maybe not how to use it yet, but how it works in theory. Month 3. Now you're going to dive deeper into your language of choice. You kind of know how it works on the surface, how to do stuff in that given language, but a language can only be so powerful without external libraries or external resources or knowing like the standard library of that language. There's only so much you can do with some if statements, you know what I mean? Or some functions you create. We gotta expand our horizons. So the thing you're gonna do is you're going to learn about the standard library of that given language. And so there's a Java standard library or something similar to that. There's a Python standard library. There's C#, JavaScript. There are certain things that are included within the language that you automatically have access to. You should know what methods you can use on strings, what methods you can use on basic data types, how do you round up a number. Certain things like that are so basic that you're going to end up using them all the time. And the reason you want to know these things and dive a little bit deeper and understand all the different things that your programming language can do, just like thinking internally just with the standard library, it's important to know that so you're not Googling things every 5 minutes. Because then you're going to be Googling, you're like, how do I round this number? Or how do I get this? Or how do I get this? And that can be, fine in the beginning, but it's going to get annoying and you're just going to want to know how to do it. So I would spend some time kind of thinking, okay, what is given to me in this language without me importing new stuff. Next, once you have the standard library down, you kind of have an idea of what you can do in that language. The next step is to learn about a framework or library that goes with that language. So if you chose Python as your language, you are going to be learning NumPy and Pandas. These are 2 libraries that are really useful in Python, and they're used by almost everyone that uses Python. Like, a lot of people use NumPy and Pandas. They're very popular. They're really good for manipulating data sets, which you'll see. And for learning that, Codecademy has a great course on it. That's how I learned it, at least the basics. Again, you got YouTube, you got LinkedIn Learning, you got Udemy, you got Treehouse. There's a bunch of resources out there, but this is what I'm giving you right now is a curriculum of like how I think, like what I think is the easiest way to like learn coding, computer science, 6 months. All right. With Python, you're also going to learn how to integrate it with something called Jupyter. Jupyter is a notebook type service that allows you to write code on the web. It allows you to break your code into executable chunks. That can be really helpful in data visualization and that sort of thing. So learn what Jupyter Notebook is and how to get one running on your computer. For C#, you are going to learn how to use Unity, which is actually a platform that you'll download, and it's a way to make games. And maybe go through some of Unity has a great library of free tutorials. I would go through maybe a couple of those, learn how to make a game, become comfortable with Unity and using the C# language within Unity. If you chose Java, then you're going to learn Java Spring and what you can do with Java Spring. If you chose JavaScript, then maybe learn Node.js, the basics of Node.js, how to get your stuff up onto Heroku. So Node.js is a backend framework, and I found it's really useful to know from everything from website hosting to, sometimes Alexa skill stuff, and making voice assistant stuff. I found that to be really useful. If you didn't want to learn Node.js, you could also learn React. That is going to be pretty challenging. That is a front-end framework, And that will prove challenging. If you didn't want to do that, then you could kind of move the months around and learn HTML and CSS, and then try to learn React, which is a front-end framework, and you'll be able to use those. It's what a lot of people use to structure the front end of their applications. All right, month 4, data structures. This is how you get the programming job. This is how you become a software developer, through data structures. And it's because every single entry-level software developer interview that you're gonna have, all they care about are these data structures and if you know them or not. And so data structures are containers for your data. So if you think of your data as someone's age is a data, how many trees are in this forest, that's a data, how many, what's another one? If a given car is on or off, that's another value piece of data. So data structure takes a bunch of pieces of data and puts them in this container, and then makes it easy, depending on what our use case is, makes each thing easy to access. Someone puts something in, puts a piece of data in, and we want to immediately take it out. There is a data structure that does that. If there's a data structure where we want to be searching for elements a lot, there's a data structure that's good at that. So it just depends on your use case, but it's important to know what they are. So data structures, that's an array, a linked list, a hash map, a stack, a queue. These are all everything I'm saying probably is super confusing. You have no idea what's going on, but that's okay. You'll learn it. Google around these terms and you'll figure it out. For the data structures for month 4, you can get Gail's book, which is Cracking the Coding Interview. That's going to be a great introduction to data structures. And then I would also research how these data structures are used in your programming language and the foundations of them. If you needed to create this given data structure in Python, how would you do it? And then how does that compare to how it's actually done? So I would do some research on that too. Month 5, this is basic web development. This is your HTML, this is your CSS basics. Again, you could try Codecademy, LinkedIn Learning, all of these different things, but you should know, and I have a couple videos on my thing that'll get you started, a little bit of a foundation on my YouTube channel. But this is, how can I write HTML and CSS code to display something in a page view? So it's going to be the absolute basics. You may, if you chose JavaScript as your main language, then you would have done this portion a little bit before. You would have done this a little bit in month 3, and then now you would be learning React. But for everybody else, this is your basic web design portion. And so, learn HTML, learn CSS, learn how to use debugger tools and the inspector tool in your given browser. So how to see and view the source code, how to manipulate it, those sorts of things. You should also learn about Bootstrap. That's how you can easily make your websites responsive. I have another video on that on my YouTube channel. And then to conclude this month, I would make a personal About Me website. So go into some HTML, CSS code, maybe download a template off of Bootstrap and manipulate it a little bit, and then create your personal website. I have 2 videos on that, so check those out if you're interested in creating your own personal website. But it's going to use HTML and CSS code, and it's going to involve manipulating an already done website, pulling that code, and then restructuring it so you can make it look like you want it to. And it's actually how I built my own personal website, and so I talk all about it in those 2 videos, so you can watch those. Month 6. This is the catch-up month, Yogi's Choice, that sort of month. 1, you can use this month to catch up, really kind of ground yourself in what you've understood so far, maybe review things. 2, you could learn backend technologies. And so for Python, that is Django. Learn how to use Django and Python in a little bit of a backend sense for web development. That's an option. Or you can continue data science and continuing on that path and maybe go into machine learning. If you chose C#, you can continue to learn .NET, or you can go into SQL Server land and learn how to do databases and that sort of thing. And so that's your true Microsoft stack. You could also choose to do nothing with that type of stuff and not even worry about it. And you could choose cloud, so cloud computing. So that's going to be your Amazon Web Services, that's going to be your Google Cloud, that's going to be your Azure, how do you use those or incorporate those into your application, and how do those work? You could go research those. Amazon actually they just released like their learning library, and it has a ton of amazing tutorials. So if you want to learn how to make a chatbot or something like that, you're good. Going further into AWS, you could learn how to create a generic API and how to send and receive data from that API. You could also learn how to make an Alexa skill, and that's going to be using all of AWS, Amazon Web Services. How do you configure that? In that world, that's another option. And you're going to find that each month is so different from the other month for the most part. Like each month is very much a contained unit. And yes, they do build on each other, but they also have so many differences. And I think you'll see that the computer science there are so many different things you can do. That means this curriculum is meant for you to get an overview of a lot of different things in computer science. You're going to learn about the command line and how to use that. You're going to learn a general purpose programming language. You're going to go deeper into that language and learn what all can I actually do with this language besides just know how to do an if statement and how to make a variable. Then you're going to go and learn about libraries and different frameworks that you can use with this language to further its functionality. Then you're going to go and learn some data structures, like what data structure you're going to learn some data structures because of programming interviews. And then you're going to go and learn some HTML and CSS because everyone, I feel like, needs to know how to do that from the most basic level. Like if you're at a hackathon, you got to make a landing page. You're going to do some HTML and CSS. And then you're going to wrap it out with some cloud computing or some more back-end technology or some Alexa skills, some chatbots, some innovative whatever. All right, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I will answer them, I promise, maybe. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new.